time to wake up, America.
Good morning, it's 7:04. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Let's get started. I sensed a great disturbance in the MAGA movement, as if a big announcement was coming on Tuesday that would shake the political landscape up. That's right, Donald Trump has a big announcement coming next Tuesday. And, what could it be? What could it possibly be? I think you know what it's going to be. We'll talk about all that and more. Jon Miltimore will join me at 7:30 this morning. We're going to talk to him about when we'll know the outcome of the election. Still more votes being counted, and no one knows who will control the Senate or the House. Jon Miltimore will discuss. And voters in Colorado legalized shrooms, but made it illegal to buy wine in grocery stores. What the hell? And 70% of single women voted Democrat. Gentlemen, it's time to take one for the team. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Wake Up America show. How are we all feeling today? Let's all just get in a good mood. How did we feel about that red wave? Yeah, what about that red wave? Yeah, more like, what a red puddle. I'm not exactly sure what was going on right now. You can send us a text this morning at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 this morning. I am still, apologize if I'm a little bit slow this morning. I'm still just kind of trying to digest everything that's been going on over the last few days. It's been a very exciting week as I have moved to a new station in the afternoons. I have been doing 2 shows a day now. So starting this week, I launched a new show. I'm now syndicated on Real Talk Radio Network out of the St. Louis area in Chesterfield. If you haven't heard the news, very exciting. And I have been doing 2 shows a day now, essentially. So I'll do the Wake Up America show in the morning, and we'll do the Austin Peterson show in the afternoon. Now, is it going to be the exact same show? No, it's going to be a little bit of a different show. You're going to get new, fresh content each day in each show. Sometimes you might hear an interview in the afternoon that you heard in the morning, like, Camellia Peterson's or Judge Andrew Napolitano's. But for the most part, the content that you'll be getting will be brand new in the afternoons, because we got to hit that afternoon audience and talk about regional issues out there. So we don't want to miss that opportunity to talk to the issues of the people of St. Louis. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from people who have heard the last couple of days. And so we're going to make sure that we try and hit that audience where they like to have it. So let's see. Camellia is distracting me by telling me, hey, maybe it's my app, but the Facebook stream isn't live. Well, that's because I didn't add the destination of Austin Peterson. So I'm going to go ahead and add it now, and it's going to be on Facebook. So there you go. It's now live on Facebook for the people who are wondering. But we shouldn't be on Facebook. You know why? Because Facebook doesn't help me. Facebook actually is not good for me. You want to get up and you want to join me on YouTube at youtube.com/AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty on YouTube. And we'll be glad to have you over there this morning. It's AP for Liberty. Good morning, Tamara. Good morning, Quest. Good morning to all of our friends. And we're glad to have you here this morning. You can, text the show 573-319-1586. Let's get into the stories. Okay, so the voters this fall, why did they go to the polls? I mean, the voters were in a pretty sour mood, right? Usually that means that people want change. I think that's the reason why there was this expectation for a red wave that never materialized, because inflation, gas prices, war in Europe, all sorts of problems that would drive voters to the polls, and they would want to throw the bums out. But the fact is that's not what happened. Control of the Senate is still undecided. Republicans were on track to take control of the House of Representatives by a smaller margin than a lot of the party leaders wanted, and even a lot of nonpartisan analysts had kind of expected. Democrats had held off on hitting steep losses in Congress. So if the preliminary results hold up, They did this in large part because their own voters showed up to the polls. They showed up with, unusual enthusiasm, and swing voters broke in their direction. In a lot of states that were decided by the narrowest margins in 2020, Democrats came closer to matching their presidential year vote totals than did their Republican opponents. Young people showed up in droves. And later on in the show today, Camellia Peterson is going to show up to talk about that constituency that voted in large numbers for Democrats. It was single women. Gentlemen, you're going to have to step up, I guess, and take one for the team. Chris Morrill says that he's already off of quarantine. Good for you, buddy, which is good because he's running low on beer. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. If you want to chat or comment, again, you can text us, or you can also join us over on the live stream. If you have a comment and you want it to appear on the show, then if you're on the YouTube stream or on Facebook or any of those, or Twitch, then those all get brought into the program in the morning. So when you're watching the stream live, you can actually see the comments, like right for now, the live chat. And so let's go over to our shop scene. Have you guys noticed this, by the way? I know I'm a little bit all over the place this morning. I'm still my brain is still waking up and getting processed for the last couple of days. Usually election people, when they work at big networks, they get usually a day off of election week after they cover the election for late nights, but there's no such thing here. But if you like our little AP for Liberty shop thing over there, it's been very effective. People have been buying our Let's Get Baked shirts now that Missouri has legalized marijuana. I can see a lot of young people showing up to their Thanksgiving or Christmas celebrations with these shirts. We've sold a lot of these sweaters. They've got a lot of people excited. We've also got another shirt that's really cool that people are liking too, that says unvaccinated and ready to talk politics. So make sure that you check that out, the AP for Liberty shop. We'd love to support your Christmas or Thanksgiving hijinks. We'd love to hear from you. So Yingling coming to Missouri, by the way, because Rare Camellia says on the live stream, I'm going to go to Northwest Arkansas today, get some more Yingling while I'm there, since they aren't in Missouri yet, but they will be in January. That's right. We will be having Yingling, thank God. Chris Morrill is asking, when will the recreational weed in Missouri be available? Asking for a friend. My guess is in January, because what I think is probably going to happen, I think the law goes into effect in January. What I think will happen is that a lot of these recreational shops, or not recreational, a lot of the medicinal shops will probably move over. Maybe somebody who's a little better educated on this can explain it to me. But as I understand it, there is going to be a lottery system for draws, which would mean that people who are not already in the business would have an opportunity to get in the business, which would mean not necessarily the same people who are in the medicinal version. You would think that would be able to just transfer over, but maybe we need to talk to my buddy Ethan Thampy about that. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, so the topic of the day, despite mixed results on Tuesday, and coming off the Georgia Senate runoff, Donald Trump is apparently sticking with his plan to announce a run for president next Tuesday. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, this is according to two sources that they have who are familiar with his thinking. Mr. Trump yesterday said that he has a very big announcement. He says it is perhaps the most important speech in the history of the United States of America.
If you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump. Please. I'm asking you. Please save me.
What do you think? Are you guys ready?
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
What do you think? America first? Are you guys ready for Donald Trump, huh? Some excitement for Donald Trump? Excited for his announcement on Tuesday? Or are you more like...
Oh, my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. Get your goddamn...
Get your goddamn... You're for Ron DeSantis. What do you think about that? Or maybe you're like, you're not a Republican, you're a libertarian, and you're listening in and you're feeling like this. Oh my gosh. Some people are really not happy about that one. Tell us what you think. 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Andy Opperman messaged in this morning and said that he really enjoyed the Judge Knapp segment yesterday afternoon. You're crushing it, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah, Judge Andrew Napolitano, he is going to do his weekly hit with us and on Wednesdays, and we'll also have him on the afternoon show as well, the Austin Peterson show. I got 2 shows now, twice as much work, and and hopefully that will be the beginning of an exciting radio career. We shall see. We shall see. Voters were in a pretty sour mood. We thought that it was going to be a red wave, but it never materialized. There were bright spots, of course, in states like Florida, where Ron DeSantis and Marco Rubio both won easy victories. Ron Johnson won re-election in Wisconsin, and a Republican candidate was leading in a yet uncalled Senate race in Nevada. But what is going on out there in Arizona? Arizona needs to get their ish together, because they have definitely they have messed up out there in Arizona. I don't know what's wrong with their elections. Maybe we need to talk to my friend Marissa Hamilton, who lives out there. And so it'd be fascinating to hear from her on that subject. Maybe I'll reach out to her and we can try and get her on the show. She's actually tweeting with me this morning right now, because we were looking at the Libertarian candidate in Georgia, who upended the race for the Senate between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. And he did this all from his basement in suburban Atlanta and for the price of a used car. And he is not sorry, says Chase Oliver in Georgia. And my answer to this is what I think that needs to be done is the GOP needs to speak to more libertarian issues. And this kind of stuff won't happen. Marissa disagrees. She says, let's be honest, it doesn't matter if we run libertarian candidates as Republicans, many L parties would still run candidates just because. She says, with that said, we're about to go full tyranny as a nation, and pragmatism is in order. I say, of course, that libertarians would run as against Republicans, even if there were we were speaking to libertarian issues, but I don't think that it would have the same impact, right? And so the thing is that if you want to peel away those voters, you got to speak to the voters. Don't attack the libertarians for running for office. Everybody has a right to run for office in this country. They have a right to be on the ballot, same as you or I. As Republicans, Democrats have a right to run as Democrats. Greens have a right to run as Greens. Socialists have a right to run as socialists. But if you want their voters, you need to speak to their voters. If you attack the candidate, then you're probably not going to get their voters, right? There's a reason why they go and they vote for them. Some of them are just party line apparatchiks that are just going to vote for the party, and you can't change that. But some of them, it's that you need to speak to their issues. I mean, you don't see strong libertarian candidates running against Rand Paul. You don't see strong libertarian candidates running against Mike Lee. You don't see strong libertarian candidates running against Ted Cruz. That just doesn't happen. And that's because they speak to the issues that those voters care about. That's the way to do it. That's my opinion. What do you think? Coming up next, most people report having passive-aggressive employees, coworkers in the workplace. Have you ever had a passive-aggressive employee or coworker in the workplace? Well, I don't have any coworkers now, but I've had them in the past. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes, knives. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
All right, now I got my bearings. Good morning, good morning. 7 in 10 Americans are facing unprecedented levels of passive-aggressive behavior in the workplace. What is this? Yeah. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm so thankful to have you here. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. I saw this story yesterday and I thought to myself, everybody can identify with something like this. This is a poll that was done of 2,000 employed adults who have witnessed passive-aggressive behaviors. Listen to this. 2,000 adults who have witnessed passive-aggressive behaviors finds that 69% agree it has become a problem at their office. Have you had a problem like this? Nearly half of respondents believe the behaviors have increased since the COVID era, the pre-COVID era. There's something about the pandemic that just kind of unleashed the beast here in the American people. Have you noticed this? I mean, people are, quiet quitting. They're quitting their jobs, mass resignation. It was as if it was like almost a great awakening to some extent. Did you feel it? Did you feel this? I felt a great disturbance in the force. And what does that mean exactly? Why are people doing this? Man, I'm getting so many messages this morning. I guess everybody must be glad that I'm back. Well, almost 2/3 of people say that they witness passive-aggressive actions in the workplace at least once a week. 1 in 5, 19% of women can attest to that statement every day. Ladies, you see a lot of passive-aggressiveness, whereas only 12% of men witness rudeness at the same rate. So the most common passive-aggressive behaviors in the workplace, listen to this, including talking behind coworkers' backs. That's funny because I guess I never really recognized what constituted passive-aggressive behavior until I read this. I mean, I always thought passive-aggressive was just, when somebody's rude to you, but not like overtly rude, just kind of like, saying something that was, semi-rude, but, it wasn't like they were like going after you really hard. You know what I mean? Sarcasm apparently is passive aggressiveness. Okay, I get it. 42%. I guess I've been passive aggressive my entire life. Silent treatments, 49%. These are the most common passive aggressive behaviors. Silent treatment, 49%. Ladies, silent treatment. Yes. I think that you probably know, where I'm going to go with that one. Maybe I should wait until Camellia Peterson comes on and talk to her about that one. And dishonesty. 37% of people reported dishonesty as that. Among entry-level employees, the most observed behavior is sarcasm. The upper echelons of senior management are able to spot people talking behind the backs of others, 60% of them. And executive management can actually sniff out friendly reminders from a mile away. So it's like, oh, let me, get your phone, and you're just like, like friendly reminder. Oh, just a friendly reminder. You owe me that piece. Let me just send you a little text, just a friendly reminder, right? And then close to half of these people, 47%, say that these behaviors are most likely to occur face-to-face, but 41% say it's also likely to occur through email or online messaging channels. Yeah, let's be honest. Most people, if they're being passive-aggressive, are doing this through other channels, right? They're doing it through, text or email or what have you, right? They're not doing it directly because most people are cowards. It's why, people get on Twitter and they're like, they're getting upset with people and they're, how dare you? Their passive aggressiveness is coming out from their emails or their text messages or something like that. Have you noticed this too? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. My friend Liz Fanning Press this morning actually did say it. She says that I pay no attention to other people's moods. Women are impossible pretty much. Yes, talk to Robin about this. What do you think about that? Passive aggressiveness. Let's see. Maybe I'll talk to Jon Miltimore about that. We're going to discuss with him when we get back where we're at with the elections. What does he think about that runoff down there in Georgia? How should Republicans respond when libertarians force runoffs like that? Let's ask Jon Miltimore when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us. I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you? I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Good morning. It's 7:31. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. All right, so why don't we know the outcome of many of these races? Why is it taking so long to count the votes? And what happened down in Georgia that forced a runoff? Let's talk to my friend, Jon Miltimore. He is the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education, and he's joining us right now. Good morning, Jon. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Good morning, AP. Happy to be here with you.
Glad to have you here, Jon. Thanks for joining us. Jon Miltimore, as managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. I know you're a big believer in free markets. So what was your take? Just give us your response, big picture on the election the other day.
I was a bit surprised. I won't lie. I was when I kind of made my little pre-election predictions, and I had the GOP performing better than they did. And if you look now, they picked up, so far, they're going to probably win the House. Senate, probably not. There's a chance either of those could swing. But I thought there was, like red wave was a lot of talk. and I based that a lot on history. If you look, the midterm elections for presidents in their first term, they tend not to be good. Even when things are not like they are right now, where we have inflation, we have a stock market that's just gets beat up, every week. So I thought that was going to mean, a darker day for Biden than it did. That didn't happen, and I think everybody's kind of trying to figure out like why it didn't. If you look back to Clinton lost. I was a kid. I remember this. Clinton lost 54 House seats in 94. Obama lost 60 in 2010. So I think, it wasn't unreasonable to look at things and say, yeah, Biden's going to, it's going to be probably a licking for Democrats. Like I said, didn't happen. Now everybody's going to kind of dissect it. Like, why was this? And lots to talk about there. I won't pretend to have all the answers. I might write an article later for some other media on that, but we'll see.
One of the big stories here, John, and I'm reading this morning in Vice magazine about the runoff down there in Georgia. This Chase Oliver character, he got 2% of the vote, and he forced a runoff between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Now, a lot of my Republican friends say, hey, Austin, we're Republicans. We should want, Republicans to win, so we need to stop these libertarians from running for office. You can't stop them from running for office, but what I think you ought to do is don't blame the libertarians. You need better Republican candidates, and you don't need to go after the libertarian candidate. You need to go after their voters. You need to go after their issues. You don't see strong libertarian candidates running against Rand Paul. Am I wrong?
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head here. Here's my take. If you ask those same people, which one would you put in office? They're going to say the libertarian in that state, who really, I just read a little bit about him. I saw the same Vice News story you did. He's right on the issues. He seems like a guy that I would vote for in a heartbeat. I wouldn't say that about Herschel Walker. I wouldn't say that about Warnock. And I think the wrong approach is to sit there and blame candidates who go out, put themselves in the line, run a good race. Did they spoil it? Maybe. We don't know. We don't know the percentage of those libertarians that were going to go vote for Walker. I don't know a lot about Herschel Walker. I remember him as a good football player. As a politician, he doesn't strike me as somebody that I'm impressed with. I don't know much about his ideas. To me, he seems like one of this new crop of GOP candidates where we're going to nominate a really famous person. And it's sort of like this new Trump formula. Put out Dr. Oz or Herschel Walker. I want good candidates. I don't want famous people. And hopefully the GOP, learns a lesson from that, because I think, that's what we should be looking at, the character of the people, their ideas, not how famous they are.
Right, because, J.D. Vance, it's not like he was a nobody, but I mean, like, he was a strong candidate in Ohio because he campaigned on ideas and issues that his voters cared about. It wasn't a celebrity. He was someone who, was kind of more of that traditional politician, and he spoke to the voters and he won his election resoundingly. So I think, you're probably right.
I'll pause for 1 minute. I agree with a lot of what you said there. I don't think Vance was actually a strong candidate, though. And if you look, Republicans, Mitch McConnell had to spend $32 million on a seat that Rob Portman just coasted with a few years ago. Vance was not, like, that should have been an easy hold for the GOP. It wasn't. And I don't think Vance was a strong candidate. Now, he didn't lose. He held a seat, a Senate seat, an important one in a very red state. But they had to spend gobs of money to do it. And you're right. He's not Herschel Walker. He's not Oz. But he wasn't, to me, it was the same reason for before, like with other people, way back when with Trump. Somebody who wakes up and says, I'm going to run for president and has no political experience, I'm always a little skeptical of that. And he didn't do it for president, he did it for Senate. But call me old-fashioned. I like the guys that kind of battle their way up a little bit. Like you start a little smaller, people without any political experience leaping in. No, I'm not saying that I'll never vote for those guys. Sometimes they are, and I'm not saying Vance is the boogeyman. Like I think he was okay. I think people though should look at that race and not presume like the JD Vances are the answer either.
If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking to Jon Miltimore. He is the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. He's a great believer in freedom and economic freedom and personal liberty. John, did you see this? Colorado voted to legalize shrooms.
I did not. I missed that one. That's awesome.
Here's the headline on this one. It's so funny. Colorado votes to legalize shrooms, but they voted against allowing wine to be sold in grocery stores. What is this leftist mindset where you'll be like in California? California banned flavored vapes, but they'll legalize everything else. It's like, they're going to legalize heroin, but they're going to ban cigarettes. What is that mindset from the left?
It's really bizarre. I like to me, it's sort of like the way that they view power. Like we saw with the pandemic, all these convoluted rules, right? Everything's locked down. Well, not liquor stores, not lottery tickets. You can buy those. It's sort of the arbitrary nature of power, essentially, is what it comes down to. When you have power, you can do what you want. It doesn't have to make sense. And I think, for someone like me, this is why I think libertarians especially are bothered by the world today. It doesn't make sense at all. And humans are reasoned creatures. We're logical creatures. When we see things that make no sense, it bothers us. But I don't think I think that's not the case for many progressives. I don't think they really care about logic and reason the same way we do. And if you look, critical theorists, they're hostile to reason. They're hostile to the Enlightenment. So maybe it shouldn't surprise us that these inconsistencies. They're like, no big deal.
Right, but I mean, what really kind of strikes me about California is that it used to be the crazy state. When we were kids, I don't know how old you are. I think you're a little younger than me. But I mean, when I was a kid,
older than you.
Oh, okay. Actually, well, you look younger than me, but
Sadly.
So the thing about California, how far it's fallen. When we were young, it was like California was the crazy state that you wanted to be. You wanted to party and have fun. Now it's like, stay away. It's a communist hellhole full of poop on the streets and homeless people everywhere. What happened to that state?
Yeah, I mean, California is really a cautionary tale. If you look, it really does come down to their policies, and I think that's the end. Where this goes. Colorado is kind of the new California, right? It's pretty hip right now. It's a place I wouldn't mind living. My fear is 10, 15, 20 years from now, California is like California, or Colorado's like California. And I think too many times that's where these policies tend to go. California is like they're drowning in debt. They're drowning in poverty and homelessness. You have all these people leaving. They're going to be facing a budget crunch that's really serious in the coming years for all the their pensions that they owe and all these things. I do wonder, I think some of these places in California actually outperformed. I wonder if Californians are kind of waking up to some of this too. It's the same with New York, right? New York flipped some seats to Republicans. I think even people in those states are saying, hold it here. Things are kind of out of control. We have a lot of crime. The welfare state has some really bad, consequences coming out of it. Maybe we need to kind of rethink some things here. And that kind of is the beauty of federalism, right? If you don't like California, you don't like New York, you can leave. Otherwise, states can, you can stay and say maybe your state fixes it. And there might be some recalibration, hopefully in New York and California. This doesn't mean they all go Republican or anything. It means that they kind of are awakened to some of the problems causing these issues.
It's Jon Miltimore, the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. John, anything else that people should know before I let you go?
No, I don't think so. Overall, I guess I'd close on a word was it a good day for liberty or bad? I don't think Republicans losing elections is necessarily bad for liberty. I don't think a whole lot for liberty actually changed. There are some signs, again, until we can reassess why voters voted the way they did. I do have some theories. The young vote in particular really swung. That 18 to 29-year-old really went progressive, and we have to understand why did they go progressive. There's good reasons they could have swung that way, but there's also bad ones. If they're looking at student loan debt and said, hey, I want my debt to be canceled by Joe Biden, I'm voting Democrat, that's alarming to me, because that means that they're learning the wrong lessons. But we'll have to wait and kind of dissect the results. But like I said, for liberty, I don't think a whole lot has changed.
It's Jon Miltimore, the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. Thanks for coming on the show today. We appreciate you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Austin. Have a good one.
Thanks very much. You too. All right. What did you think of Jon Miltimore? Send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. And when we get back, let's talk about what, Austin? About what? About Gen Z party poopers have ruined after-work drinks. Yes, that's right. No more going out for drinks after work. Gen Z has ruined it. We'll talk about that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, Governor.
Enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have. The facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, it's 7:47. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, so one of my favorite things that I used to do when I lived in Washington, D.C. and New York is go out to drinks after work. Is happy hour really that happy anymore, though? Apparently not. The New York Post is reporting that there's a big debate on tap. That's a good one. As workers are settling back into going back into the office and potentially grabbing drinks with coworkers at the end of the day. Some young millennials and Gen Zers who tend to be ever concerned with healthy work-life boundaries are taking a stance against socializing with colleagues. One person told the Post, "I enjoy my private life and enjoy to not hang out with coworkers when I'm trying to relax and not think about work. While I've previously gone out with coworkers for drinks, 90% of the conversation is centered around work gossip, and the like." Yeah, that's kind of the point of that, right? The whole idea. But some, like this Diamond Nelson character that they interview, and he's a nursing assistant out of Baltimore, he says he's being guarded after bad experiences hanging out with his colleagues. Nelson said he once invited a coworker to her home. Excuse me, Diamond Nelson. Why did I think that was a guy? It's a girl. Nelson once invited a coworker to her home and things seemed fine at the time. But the next day at work, Nelson heard mean comments about the lack of luxury in her living situation. Can you imagine inviting a coworker over to your house for why did you invite your coworker over to your house? Oh, come on.
How dare you?
All right. Well, you know what's going on there. Right. But apparently the person heard mean comments about the lack of luxury in their living situation. I mean, what do you expect from something like that? I mean, but there are a lot of people who do love hanging out outside of the office, but apparently it's, now that the pandemic has kind of changed how people, operate with their work-life balance, not everybody really enjoys getting together for drinks after happy hour, right? Some people do it 2 or 3 times a week. Some people don't do it at all, right? Not all colleagues like each other. What about you and your experience? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. Like Liz Fanning Press, who messaged in, she says, "Unless you like them, no need to mix business and pleasure." Yeah, no, there are jobs that I've had where once the workday was over, it was gone. I was gone. Get the heck out of there. You want to move on, move out of the place or what have you. But we used to have, when I lived in DC, we used to have these really fun after work happy hours. And, being that I'm literally broadcasting here from a speakeasy in a bar in Jefferson City, there's probably a lot of fun after work happy hours that happen right here in the office where I'm at. You've seen this awesome bar that I'm in, right? Haven't you? Check this out. If you haven't, look at that. See that over there? Pretty friggin' sweet, right? Yeah, kind of cool. Look at all this locked up alcohol in cabinets here. See, check this out. All these beer steins. My buddy Scott keeps saying, "You need to just put your stuff up there." And I'm like, "No, actually, I really like these beer steins. And I think they actually make a really cool backdrop." And we are the Wake Up America show, so maybe I need to put some bacon and eggs or something somewhere. But no, I actually like broadcasting from a bar. Send us a text at 573-319-1586. We've got lots more great show to go. We've been talking this morning about people being passive aggressive. So if you've got a lot of passive aggressive employees at your office, then you're probably not a big fan of hanging out with your coworkers after work. But here's the question that this study that I was talking about earlier on passive aggressive employees continues on. Why do employees need to feel good at work? 7 in 10, 71% of people who were surveyed believe that passive aggressive coworkers would benefit from appropriate soft skills training. When asked to identify soft skills, these are character traits that decide how well a person interacts with others, respondents said that people need to learn time management, communication, and problem solving as the most important. So communicating, problem solving, and time management is the most important soft skills that people report that they wish their coworkers knew. In order to address passive aggressive behaviors in the workplace, employees say they need to feel empowered to educate coworkers on better ways to communicate. See, this is hilarious to me because these people are literally being passive aggressive. So in order for them to fight in order to fight passive aggressiveness in the workplace, we need to feel empowered to be passive aggressive. At least that's how I'm interpreting this. So employees say they need to feel empowered to educate coworkers on better ways to communicate, settle passive aggressive situations, and motivate others to maintain a positive culture. You see, this is some chick stuff. So let me just address this right here. Empowered to educate others. Okay, empowered. you just need to confront. You need to learn confrontation. We live in a society, I feel like, where people have a problem with being confrontational. I know my brother and I have talked about this for years. This has been a big topic of conversation, being confrontational. When you have a problem with someone, you need to cut that off in the beginning. You need to solve that problem early on. You need to go and you need to tell the person what the problem is right then and right there. People, who know me, know that, or that have worked with me or have been in a situation, know that, I have no problem with confrontation. And that's because I learned when I was young that when you let things simmer and you let things brew, they get worse, right? Passive aggressiveness, right? You need to just, when there's an issue, you need to address it right away. But we've been conditioned in our society to not address problems when they pop up right away. You've got to do that. Be honest. Tell me, are you the type of person who, when something bugs you, you let it bug you and then it builds and it builds and it builds and you don't solve the problem right away because you're not confrontational enough? Well, that's because we've been conditioned in society not to address problems that we have with one another. And that's what builds up the kind of passive aggressiveness that these people are complaining about. But they say they need to feel empowered. You don't need to feel empowered. Well, you need to feel empowered yourself. You need to take it upon yourself to address, I got a big old long red hair. My beautiful wife. I find her long red hairs in absolutely everything. There we are. Isn't that nice? You probably can't see that. Hold on. Let me turn that on the camera. This is the joy of being on a video podcast versus an audio podcast. I don't think you can actually see that on camera right there. I find her hairs in everything, even my butt. I wash my butt and I pull out these big long red hairs. TMI. Stephanie is actually in the live stream too. Good morning, Stephanie. She says she called out her coworkers at a lunch table before when they were talking about a friend of mine. It helped. Yep, there you go. Chris Morrill says things you do and say outside of work can and will be held against you. Yes, absolutely true. It will. Republicans need a better candidate in PA, say. Squirrel says, Rare Camellia. Yes, I am getting very distracted this morning. All right. What have we got left on the show? We've got lots more. I've got an awesome video that I'm going to play for you of a giant mako shark jumping onto a boat. It's a humongous shark, terrifying mako shark jumping onto a boat. I've got the video of it. It's the most terrifying crap I've ever seen. Absolutely horrifying. I'm going to play that clip for you. We've got Camellia Peterson joining us at 8 o'clock to talk about how freedom fared in Missouri. We'll talk about who we're sending to Congress from Missouri. You didn't have to worry about us. There was a red wave, but it was in Missouri. And why 70% of single women voted Democrat. She's a single woman. Talk to her about that at 8:30 this morning. Ann Coulter launched a broadside against President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. And it's good stuff. It's juicy stuff. We're going to talk about all that and more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamerica.show.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
The real world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
In order to save a native fish species in Montana's Glacier National Park, Park Service officials want to use rat poison to kill off a non-native species that Park Service officials put in the lake 100 years ago. In the early 1900s, government Park Service officials artificially stocked Gunsight Lake with rainbow trout to improve recreational fishing opportunities. Since then, the rainbow trout's population has increased, and through hybridization now threatens the existence of a different species of trout native to surrounding waterways. Rat poison that government officials want to use has been banned since 2005, is toxic to animals and humans, and has been linked to Parkinson's disease. This poison is a naturally derived compound and breaks down when exposed to sunlight, and officials can use other neutralizing agents downstream to limit contamination. The National Park Service has similar plans for waterways in the Grand Canyon as well. The federal government has confirmed a nationwide shortage of Adderall, months after nearly 2/3 of community pharmacies reported that they were having trouble filling prescriptions. And despite this shortage, the federal government also indicates that it will not raise the drug's production quota for next year. In case you didn't already know, Adderall is a federally controlled substance because of its potential for abuse, and patients in most states can only pick up 1 month's supply at a time, and generally can only do so a few days before their previous prescription.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's Austin Peterson here. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. All right, so I saw this poll yesterday that I thought, oh my God, this makes total sense. It's not a good poll, but it's the kind of poll that we probably need to talk about, and I should probably bring in an expert, somebody who knows a thing or two about it. An exit poll showed nearly 70% of single women voted Democrat in midterms. Joining me now is a single woman. She's Camellia Peterson joining us right now. How are you doing, CJ? Thanks for coming on the show.
Doing well. Nice to be part of the 30%.
Glad to have you here. So CJ, I guess when you saw this, I mean, did this surprise you at all to see the numbers this high, single women voting for Democrats?
I guess not. I mean, I think that they are maybe some people are framing it in a way that I'm not sure is probably exactly right. I thought it was kind of funny that one of the tweets they had in there from Molly Hemingway was that one of the fascinating things about our ongoing political realignment is the massive political incentive Democrats have to keep women unmarried. And that may be like flipping it around. I'm not sure that Democrats are be like, oh, we have to keep all the women unmarried so that they will vote for us.
Well, would you put it past him?
Well, I try not to generalize too terribly much, but probably not. But it is, I do think that, you know, there are definitely some cultural correlations that come with that, you know, kind of, there are probably more unmarried women in the Democratic Party just by virtue of some of the values and beliefs they hold.
And because they're miserable.
Well, okay, yeah.
but don't you think projection is part of the Democratic playbook here? I mean, these women are unhappy, they're childless, they're miserable. I mean, they're voting for Democrats because they hate their lives and they want other people to suffer the way that they're suffering.
Well, and I think when you have an authoritarian complex where you think that you have to take care of everybody else and you know what's better for everyone than they know what's, you know, good for themselves, I think that's part of it too. And I think that women who are in that party sometimes tend to think that way, and they think that they, you know, that their job, and therefore the job of government is to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing and getting taken care of, rather than putting that responsibility back on themselves and on the people.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Camellia Peterson. We're grateful to have you here listening to the show. We're talking about a poll that showed that 70% of women, single women, voted Democrat. So, you know, you are the 30%, Camellia. What makes you different than other single women?
I don't know, but you know, when we talk about the things like, you know, that there's more unmarried women in the Democratic Party who are voting that way, I think we tend to want to split that into ideology guidelines, but I think we keep forgetting that, for example, I'm largely the way I am because of the way I was raised. And because my parents raised me in such a way, not only did they work to instill the values that they held in me, but they also taught me to think critically and to know why I believe what I believe. And so there are some things, some beliefs now that I hold that are different from theirs, but those core values are still part of, you know, my worldview. And so I think that there is some generational responsibility when it comes to this. And when we try to blame, you know, certain segments of the population or certain generations, there was a tweet here just yesterday where this lady, she's got like 650,000 followers on Twitter, and she said, Generation Z is destroying the country at the ballot box. Granted, that's not women, but it's this blame on certain segments of the population without looking at why those segments of the population are voting the way they're voting and holding the beliefs that they do.
So that would sort of it begs a question here. If 70% of single women are voting Democrat, then you must assume that being a married woman would lend one to be more, you know, likely to vote Republican. So I mean, in theory, that should mean that the men out there probably need to take one for the team and go out there and marry some women if we want a Republican future. But I mean, you know, think about it. You know, a woman, you know, probably has a more of a desire for safety than a man does, right? So that's probably probably going to be why they're going to vote more for the Democrats, because a single woman doesn't have a man taking care of them. And so they vote for the government to do it.
Sure. And there's no doubt that people on the conservative end of the spectrum, when we talk about family values, and we talk about the traditional family and how marriage is valued and the importance of that, absolutely, it's no surprise that more married women are conservative. So yes, I think that somebody made the comment that, the 70% that we have basically taught them that they don't need to be married to a man because they can be married to the government.
Yeah.
So,
I can hear a lot of angry
maybe it's not that black and white, but yeah.
There's any women out there who are tuning in right now or are single that are just like, they're very upset with us right now. They're tuning in. But
I'm sorry. I know it's not that black and white, but
no, it's not that black and white. If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Camellia Peterson. We're talking about an exit poll from the midterms that showed nearly 70% of single women voted Democrat in the midterms. This is fascinating stuff. Married women broke Republican by 14 points. Married men broke Republican by 20 points. Unmarried men broke Republican by 7 points. But unmarried women broke Democrat by a whopping 37 points. I mean, do you think that it was the Roe versus Wade thing that probably turned out, didn't help the Republicans in this election? Was it the abortion question? Would you say, Camellia?
maybe some. I do think that what we've talked about a lot, that that issue kind of peaked early, and I don't know how much of a role it played in this election, but I do think it played somewhat of a role in driving voters to get out. I didn't come across a lot of those people, when I was out at the doors, but that's not to say that they weren't there. Maybe they were that silent segment of the population that got out, and that was their issue anyway. And when we talk about the number of unmarried women, this is also something that's just trending generationally, and that millennials will have the highest proportion of unmarried and childless women hitting 40, maybe in history, I don't know. But I think that is part of our cultural evolution that we are going to have to adapt to. And I think it's part of an advance to society where women can be more independent. So lots of factors in this.
Yeah. So we're talking to Camellia Peterson right now. If you're just tuning in, I'm Austin Peterson, and we're talking about an exit poll that showed that 70% of unmarried women voted for Democrats. I mean, is there any way to change something like this, Camellia? I mean, what are, other than abortion, which I don't think Republicans are ever going to budge on, obviously, and I don't think that they should. I mean, how do you, as a Republican, break into the unmarried female vote? I mean, do you have to appeal to their prurient interests, right? Do you have to be a sexy Ron DeSantis type to kind of sway the voters? Because if you think that female voters aren't voting based on candidate appearance, I've got, again, some Tuscumbia Bridge Company here in mid-Missouri I'd love to sell you. Attractiveness is an important part of a politician's toolkit. And I know this because after having run a couple of times, I would go out and I would campaign around Missouri. And when I would talk to high schools and when I would talk to, colleges and things like that, the young ladies overwhelmingly would talk about how hot Josh Hawley was.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going to go with that. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what's wrong with those young ladies, but all right.
So how do you get those voters? How do you unmarried females? I mean, do you wife them up, or, what do you do?
I'm not so sure that that's the answer. I'm not so sure that there's one single answer. I think that, in this battle of left and right and the culture war that's going on, it really comes down to a battle of values and ideas. We have stopped talking to each other as a people. If you don't agree with someone, you don't talk to them. And you mentioned earlier that people seem to be much more open about being confrontational with people now as a result of the pandemic. And I think that is fear driven. Fear drives anger, and all of a sudden it became more normalized and more okay for you to confront people and say things that you would never normally say to them. And so I think that we have this culture of just constantly being confrontational all the time, to the point to where we don't talk and we don't listen to people with different ideas. And so we don't have the opportunity for people to change their minds based on actually listening to someone that has a different idea than they do or holds different values than they do. There's no persuasion going on there because it's basically all about demonizing the other person.
I've got about a minute left, Camellia. I would love to talk to you a little bit more on this topic. Maybe we can do another segment, but I wanted to talk to you about the what Missouri is sending to Washington D.C. and not just Eric Schmidt, but another candidate in Southwest Missouri. Camellia, can I convince you to stick around? Maybe we'll talk again for another segment.
Sure thing.
Okay, yeah, stick around. Let's talk about what's happening in Missouri when we get back. And and we'll do that. We got to go to a commercial break. There we go. All right.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Austin Peterson. Glad to have you here. I am joined now by Camellia Peterson. She loves to come on the show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm delighted to share her with you now. Camellia, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here, Camellia. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what Missouri is sending to Washington, D.C. I think, we've kind of talked about Eric Schmidt ad nauseum. Everybody knows, pretty constitutional conservative, right? He's going to go to the Senate and yada, yada, yada. We'll see how he does. But in terms of sending, Congress critters to Washington, D.C., not a lot of attention has been paid to some of the people that are the new names and faces. Congressman Billy Long famously, ran for Senate unsuccessfully, and so he's not going to be going back to Washington, D.C., and so we're going to have a new name and a face down there from Southwest Missouri. Eric Burleson goes to Washington, D.C., and, I know you're from Southwest Missouri, so you probably got as good an analysis of him as anybody else. During the break, you and I were kind of talking about how we don't really know his position on foreign policy and some of those big national issues that we really do need to know. But from my understanding, Eric Burleson is going to be, a pretty hardcore liberty Republican going to Washington, D.C. by all accounts. Talk to us a little bit about this man.
I think so. And, Eric Burleson is probably best known in Missouri for his work on the Second Amendment Preservation Act. So he's obviously very strong when it comes to 2A rights. That took a long time, a lot of persistence to get through the legislature. And he did lead the charge on that and accomplished that. He also has done a lot of work in the pro-life legislation that has gone through in the heartbeat bill, those kind of things. Very strong on those issues. He's been part of the conservative caucus when it was formed in the Senate. And I will say, in his role, the conservative caucus kind of created some waves in their approach to things. And toward the end, it got to kind of to be confrontational, some personal issues in there. But through all of that, one thing that I really appreciated about Senator Burleson was that he was kind of this calming force in the middle of all that. And when things would get heated on the floor, he was one that would come on and, try to, kind of be the peacemaker without compromising his principles, but he was the peacemaker. And so I think that he does a pretty good job of, working with both sides of things and working with a lot of different types of people, which I think is very valuable when you are going to Washington, D.C., because we want people who are very strong on principle, and we have seen from kind of the state of our politics right now that clearly people on the right want someone who's going to go and fight for them. But the difference is, you have we don't want someone who just goes and fights and makes a lot of noise and doesn't get anything done. So we need both of those things. And I do think that Congressman-elect Burleson will do that. As you mentioned, I got to thinking about it. And even though, he's here in my area, I was thinking, I don't know exactly where he stands on some of these things that they deal with more at the federal level, such as foreign policy, those kinds of issues. And I got to looking at one of the debates they held, and I still don't know entirely because his answers, to be honest, were fairly vague on that. So that bothers me just a little bit, but I would like to know more about that. But one of the things I mentioned to you that this made me think about is that when we are looking at our state level races, because when Jon Miltimore earlier mentioned that he likes somebody to run for these, federal positions that maybe has had a little bit of political experience, in some fashion, whether it's in local government or otherwise, we talk about building the bench at the state level because very often that's how our elected officials move up the ladder. And that even starts, at the local county and city level. And so when we talk about issues that we want to know from those candidates, from those local candidates, we're like, we don't need to know about foreign policy. We don't need to know about immigration because they don't deal with those things, at the local level. But the thing is that if you're putting those people into those local positions and the chances are better that they are going to work their way up from there, maybe we do need to know, their positions on some of those issues, even if it's not something that they will directly deal with in the immediate future.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Camellia Peterson. She's one of my favorite guests. Oh, and you probably are wondering, are we related? No. I am Austin Peterson, S-E-N. I'm Danish, yeah. And Camellia is a Peterson, which is Swedish. Swedish, yeah. She's Swedish. Give you a nice massage. But Camellia Peterson is one of my favorite political analysts. She works for Americans for Prosperity here in the state of Missouri. She did a lot of door knocking during campaigns. She went from an outsider to an insider in Missouri politics in the span of a couple of years. You are an insider. That's right.
I'm an insider.
Yes, you are. Your establishment now. No, just kidding. CJ, were you disappointed that Missourians voted to legalize weed?
Yes. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I was. I would have liked to have seen us give it one more go in trying to get the legislature to do the right thing. I do understand people's frustration with the legislature. I felt like that, the time was right, and the circumstances were right, that we maybe had a pretty good chance of getting that done in the next session. But now we will have to focus on fixing what it was a pretty terrible ballot initiative.
But it can be fixed, right? I mean, I saw our friend Epan Thampi, the cannabis lobbyist, talking about this, that, there are things that the legislature can do to fix this. Isn't that the case?
I don't know if there's anything that the legislature can do I'm not sure exactly how that works, but my understanding is there's not a whole lot you can do to fix things without maybe the legislature coming up with a joint resolution, which they then will still have to put on the ballot and voters will still have to vote for. So it's still a big process, and it's basically amending the Constitution again.
What was this role that it established? Some kind of chief equity officer? What is this weirdness?
Yeah, the equity officer thing is kind of odd, and the wording on it's pretty vague, which I think, makes people afraid that it could be applied in a very broad way. Supposedly, this person would be responsible for making sure that there is racial equity in how these micro business licenses are distributed. I don't have a great understanding of that, but it's just more of this government picking winners and losers and things.
Camellia, I got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left here in this segment. I wanted to pivot here real quick and ask you about the Great MAGA War brewing between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, because Trump is already sniping at DeSantis, and he's from at least according to the Wall Street Journal and sources close to Donald Trump, he's looking at announcing his run for president on Tuesday. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I really do wish that Trump would just kind of take a step back and let us move forward. I think this keeps us constantly embroiled in drama, which honestly is classic Trump. I mean, he is a narcissist. I mean, let's not mince words about it.
How dare you? How dare you?
I think that Trump served his purpose as a disruptor, and he did good things when he was in office. I do think when people say Trump is America first, I really do think Trump is really Trump first. But I think that he is taking it personally that people like DeSantis so much, and they've liked what he has done. And that is hard for him to let that spotlight go, especially on the heels of everything that happened with the election. I think it would be, I'm not so sure he's thinking about what's best for the party. I think he's thinking about what's best for himself. And this is, I think, a challenge for the Republican Party going forward. It'd be interesting to see now that we're past the election, if people in the Republican base that have been really hardcore Trump will continue to support a run for re-election from him, because with the way he's been hitting DeSantis and the way he's been going after him, because they really...
I'm sorry, I got to cut you off, Camellia. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We will continue to discuss this. Of course, Great MAGA Wars will continue on. Camellia, thank you for your time today.
Have a great day.
What did you think of Camellia Peterson? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. All right, I promised you I was going to show you this video, and I am going to show you this video of a giant mako shark jumping on top of a boat. It's insane. You've got to see this. Crazy, crazy video. Scared the hell out of me when I saw it this morning. I'm going to have some bad dreams tonight. So if I have to suffer, you have to suffer. All that and more. We'll continue the discussion about the Great MAGA Wars when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, My name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson, and you're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, a group of New Zealand fishermen got a bigger catch than they bargained for when a massive mako shark jumped out of the water and landed on their boat. A video of the shark jumping moment is currently making waves online, writes the New York Post this morning. Check this out. You head over to my Twitter weirdness scene. This is something I think a little bit more than weird. Cut the audio here. Take a listen to this. You've got to see this video. Check this out. Look at this. Look at the size of that sucker. It's on the boat. Look at this. Dun, 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 dun. Look at that. Look at that shark. If that shark wants to eat you, it can. Yeah. What the? I'm glad that they cut out the cursing here. Wow. That is a mako shark. To me, that's the scariest shark. I don't know about you, but like I know people are terrified like great whites and stuff, but look at that thing. He keeps the bunnies away. Look at this. Look at this shark. Now apparently, so they're out there on a charter boat, and apparently the story is that they're out on a fishing charter and they were targeting kingfish when the bait was taken by this mako. And this is the world's fastest shark. It can reach speeds of up to 46 miles per hour. They said that they were fighting it normally. It was jumping around. They told the customers to, watch out. It might leap on the boat, and it just did that. 30 seconds later, it jumped right on top of the boat, and a mako just jumped on our boat, boys. The captain explains of the deep blue CS encounter. The shark, which was estimated to weigh around 330 pounds and measure 8 to 9 foot long, sat on the bow with its jaws open for the remainder of the clip. I mean, can you imagine? Look at this. Apparently, the shark managed to wriggle free and return to the water unharmed. The captain was quoted as saying, "What the F do? We can't go up to the front near it because they go absolutely bonkers." Then the shark managed to wiggle free. They dropped anchor a little bit. They say it seemed to be holding it in place on the boat. Then he went bonkers again and pushed himself through the bow rail and slid back into the water. Wow. Scary stuff. But you love to see it. I mean, it's fascinating. It's interesting, right? All right. So now, the battle brewing between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. It's time for us to talk about the Great MAGA Wars. Donald Trump has a major announcement. He says next Tuesday, let's talk about that. Just you and me on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you very much.
Enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Have you had a chance to listen to my new program yet? The one that launched this week in the afternoon? Yeah, I'm doing 2 shows a day now. Not only do I do the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com, but I also am doing the Austin Peterson show. Yeah, I know, Austin Peterson. You're in both shows, right? But one's called the Austin Peterson show, and the other one is the Wake Up America show. So how can you listen to the Austin Peterson show? Well, you can listen to my new show by either downloading the app or living in the regions where it's playing out over the radio. So if you don't live in the regions where it's playing out over the radio, what are you going to do? You're going to have to download the app. And the app is on your iPhone or on your Android device. It's Real Talk Radio Network. If you go over to your app store, I'm pulling up my Play Store right now, typing in Real Talk. Do it with me now. Real Talk. Let's see what comes up. It says Real Talk 93.3, Ellis Broadcasting and Media. Boom. Listen to St. Louis's real conservative, Real Talk Radio, Real Talk 93.3 FM. Ellis Broadcasting and Media. Yeah, just click to download the app, and it's Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. It's a brand new show. It's its own show. Happens every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'd be super grateful if you would do that. Join us over there on the show this afternoon. You can comment on the app. That's kind of like one of the most fun parts of it, is that while the show's going on at 2 to 3 p.m., you can go into the app and you can drop your comments, and I can interact with you during my afternoon show too. So you get twice as much AP. Isn't that just what you wanted? Just even more of me. I saw this clip from The View yesterday about voter turnout and voter suppression. Yeah, I'm going to make you watch it. If I have to suffer, so do you. Take a look at this. This is Whoopi Goldberg talking about voter suppression. Take a listen to this.
Well, I mean, this really comes down to the people.
Yeah. This comes down to the people. The people of the United States made their decisions. They decided who they wanted to be in power. And you know, you can try to repress the vote, but people came out from under buildings. They came from helicopters. They landed. They decided. They voted in huge amounts. Never, ever, never give up on the American people when it comes to voting. It might not always go your way, but we will come out and do what we're supposed to do.
And I loved that because, you know, it was really amidst tremendous voter suppression that was going on all over the country. I have a friend, this is anecdotal, but she lives in Texas. She's a Democrat from New York.
Pause for just a moment. So let me get this straight. So Whoopi Goldberg says on one hand that people were dropping from helicopters to vote. People were coming out all over the place. They were voting like crazy. And yet there was tremendous voter suppression going on. So which was it? Was there a tremendous amount of voting? Were people voting like crazy and, you know, were they able to vote? Or was there voter suppression going on, right? I know. It's all of one big joke, of course. And I don't know how to respond sometimes to the ladies from The View. So I think sometimes it's better to just move on. Well, despite mixed results on Tuesday, and of course the upcoming Georgia Senate runoff, Donald Trump is so far sticking with his plan to announce a run for president next Tuesday. Mr. Trump said that he promised that a very big announcement is coming, perhaps the most important speech given in the history of the United States of America. Yeah, screw that. Frank Lloyd Holmes. He was the Supreme Court Justice guy. William Lloyd Garrison? No. Frank Lloyd Wright? Who was the guy that gave the Cross of Gold speech? No, screw that. Throw that all to the side. This is the most important speech, the big announcement that we have that's upcoming.
We are led by very, very stupid people. Very, very stupid people.
Now, why is Donald Trump doing this?
We cannot let it continue.
Yes, we cannot let it continue. I agree. We should not be.
Led by very.
Thank you, Donald Trump. I appreciate you, and I know that you are.
From now on, it's going to be America first.
Good. I'm glad because that is. Yes, perfect. Exactly. As it should be. We want that. We definitely want that. America first would make me feel about that way. Yes. So President Trump thinks that announcing early is going to cement his status as a front runner for the nomination, but he's not expected to have a clear path. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and others might potentially jump in. I also tossed out the name Kristi Noem because I'm a big fan of hers. Though the former president is already enacting, fired the first shot in the Great MAGA wars. And he's attacking Ron DeSantis. He says that it would be like anybody else that runs, he told reporters. If somebody runs, then you have to bring out the best. I'm not sure DeSantis would want to run, but you'll see. In the meantime, I'd like him to win. I voted for him, and I'd like him to win. He's talking about, he wants him to win for governor. My listener texted in and said, Williams Jennings Bryan for the Cross of Gold speech. Wow, damn, you are smart. Very smart. You should have your own talk show. I'm not being sarcastic or patronizing. I just, I feel like my brain is all over the place this week. I'm just, it's been a really crazy week for me, launching the new show, traveling to St. Louis back and forth. And, I think I did 3 shows on election day. I did 3 shows on Tuesday. So please forgive me for being a little bit scatterbrained this morning. I will improve, hopefully, by, what is today? Thursday? I have no idea what time it is, what day it is. Tomorrow's Friday. I will get better by tomorrow. We still got one more segment to go, and I have got another story for you. Brussels sprouts actually used to taste worse. Could they taste worse? Apparently they used to. All that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit SaluteHeroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, Ben.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Boy, it's been a show that's all over the place, don't you know? It's been a wild week, election week, so sometimes I know people get tired of politics and they just don't want to talk about it. They want to hear about anything else other than politics. Sometimes, though, you do have to eat your Brussels sprouts, as they say. I had Brussels sprouts last night for dinner. The fourth season of Leave It to Beaver opens with a haunting line, "Beaver, eat your Brussels sprouts," from Mrs. Cleaver, who then spends most of the episode trying to gently steer her son into compliance using every disciplinary trick in the book. And then he finally chokes down a sprout thanks to a well-timed slap on the back from his big brother, Wally. And then he walks away from the whole affair having learned a valuable lesson: parents nag, because they care. Now, as for beavers' newfound appreciation for the buds themselves, it stops short at, I think it's going to stay down there. In other words, I like this enough not to involuntarily puke it back up. Now, childhood aversion to vegetables and Brussels sprouts in particular is such a familiar trope that beavers' plight might elicit a nostalgic twinge, even if you never had an issue helping yourself to a serving of Brussels sprouts, but maybe you did. And or maybe you did and you just assumed you outgrew the problem as your palate grew more refined. But there's more to the story than untried taste buds. Brussels sprouts actually really did used to taste worse. This is according to mentalfloss.com. In the late 1960s, Brussels sprouts farmer Steve Bontadelli says, in the late 1960s, our industry switched over to mechanized harvesting, which required a plant that would mature fairly evenly over the entire stem. The best sprouts for the job came at a cost. They were horribly bitter, he explained, and we turned off an entire generation. Now, anti-Brussels sprout sentiment apparently began to this is a thing they study. I mean, farmers, they're salespeople. This began to dissipate in the 1990s because the sprouts themselves actually became less bitter. NPR reported that a group of Dutch biotechnologists pinpointed the chemical compounds behind the sprouts' characteristic bite. A couple of what's called glucosinolates called sinigrin and progoitrin. So they trawled their stores for old seeds that were low in these potent compounds. Dutch seed suppliers embarked on a years-long mission to breed the ideal plant, one that would turn out not too bitter Brussels sprouts, and do so quickly enough to keep up with modern production standards. And their success actually helped catapult the once maligned vegetable to culinary stardom, especially in the United States, because a lot of culinary celebrities, like David Chang, has made these famous Brussels sprouts with kimchi puree and bacon, and inspired other chefs to think outside the box. Oh my God, I'm getting hungry now, because let me just tell you, I love kimchi. If you've never had kimchi, it's a Korean dish. It's absolutely delicious. Kimchi, bacon, and Brussels sprouts to me sounds frigging amazing. How about you? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. Would you eat kimchi, bacon, and Brussels sprouts? Yeah. And usually the way it's prepared is like oven roasted, which what they used to do is they had sprouts that were like more bitter, and they would boil them, which is not the ideal way to make Brussels sprouts. Now we roast them, but it used to be that, in the West, we would boil our Brussels sprouts, and that's part of the reason why people didn't like them very much. Popular cookbooks like Joy of Cooking reinforce this separation by advising boiling, steaming, and sautéing for vegetables. But according to chefs Johan Killeen and George Gorman, they led the change to make oven roasting a thing, apparently by accident. When they opened their restaurant in 1980, it only had an oven. Using it to roast vegetables worked out so well, they didn't stop, and then they recommended the technique in their 1991 cookbook, Cucina Simpatica. And then by 1993, roasting had become such a hit in restaurant kitchens that New York Times food critic Florence Fabricant published a detailed review of its merits for everything from fruits and vegetables to seafood. So when they seasoned it with fish sauce or thick balsamic vinegar and they roast it to crispy perfection, even an extra bitter Brussels sprout is probably preferable to a mild one that's been boiled, right? But thanks to Dutch innovators who cracked the code on the flavor profile, we now have the best of both worlds. Poor beaver will never know the pleasure. Oh, Andy Opperman says he loves kimchi. Me too, my man, me too. So, what's for dinner tonight? Brussels sprouts, kimchi, and bacon, oven roasted. I loves it. All right, tomorrow's Friday. We'll have some more fun. Hopefully, we'll have more election results in. We'll be back more tomorrow. Don't forget, listen today at 2 p.m. for my new show, The Austin Peterson Show, on Real Talk Radio Network out there in St. Louis. Make sure you download the app and join me. I'll be chatting with you live at 2 p.m. Central today on Real Talk Radio Network. Thank you very much for listening to the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson.
I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.